Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Tom Scavetta, and just want to let you guys know why I'm filming this segment here today. So, we've been on Facebook Live now for almost a year, and I kind of wanted to just introduce to everybody how the review and preview operation got started, who we are, and kind of like what our background is, where we come from. So, fun fact actually, review and preview, we started off, it's a funny story. We started off as a sports radio talk show that debuted on September 14th, 2011. So we're coming up on 9.5 years as being a sports talk show. It was founded by a guy named Johnny Montalbano, who now lives in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And the show took place weekly at the WCWP radio station on the LIU Post campus in Long Island, New York. And Johnny, he did the show for a few years before passing the torch to Brian Marbach, who debuted on the show in 2014, and he took over as the host. And for me, kind of like my story, how I got started is I always wanted to do a sports talk show in college. That's part of the reason why I went to the college that I did, is because I wanted, sports talk experience, play-by-play experience. I always wanted that experience on how to further enhance my craft. And one day I was a junior, spring semester. I sat in on a sports talk show. There really wasn't much cooking at that time as far as sports talk at our school. So it was the spring of 2016. I sat on, and Brian was on. I was like, okay, this is pretty decent. And then I didn't appear again in the studio. It was the first week of my senior year at LIU Post. I was the color commentator for the football team, and we were getting ready for a broadcast, and Brian comes up to me. He's like, hey, just wanted to offer you, come on my sports talk show tonight. I'm like, all right, sure. This is the first Thursday in September of 2016, and I joined the show for the first time, and I pretty much just stuck with it. I used to give out business cards to people that Brian made on Vistaprint, and then I kind of made these myself. Pretty much, I don't know if you guys can see it really well. It kind of gives me and my information and whatnot, my email, the hosts that are on the show, where you could listen to us back then. This was some really good stuff, but we've kind of moved on from those. So we use those for a long time to like kind of promote ourselves and our brand. So Brian made those, and then his schedule ended up getting a little hectic about a year. So I was on review and preview for about a year, and then Brian started having me fill in for him as a host. So that was fun that following fall. And then January 2018, Brian tells us he's leaving, he's moving on. And then he promotes me as the full-time host and left me in charge of review and preview. So since January of 2018, I've been in charge of the brand. And so I've been the host for over 3 years now of that particular show, which is crazy because I've been host for over 3 years now, and I've been a member for pretty much 4.5 years. So that's a long time. It was a rough start when I took over as host because I lost my other two co-hosts, who both moved on within months of each other. So I pretty much had to start from scratch and properly fill out my staff. So I figured, let me put a little word out there with the business cards. And I made an Instagram page for review and preview, which is still running today. I'm very proud of that. And this is around the time I invited James and Kyle, and eventually they moved up to full-time co-hosts later that spring, summer. And what's crazy is what most of you may not know. As you all know, we are now a sports brand that has multiple different shows. We're technically called Review and Preview Sports, but this used to be a once-a-week, 2-hour sports show on Thursday night, and that was it. There was no advertising. There was no Facebook page. There was nothing. Thursdays, 5 to 7. Then we would push the time back a little bit, and then we moved over to Fridays, 8 to 10, due to my work schedule cramping up a little. And scheduling was kind of tough. It was kind of tough for me last year with working over an hour away from Long Island. And then the pandemic hit. So then we were no longer able to physically appear in the studio because, me, James, and Kyle, we used to hang out all the time. It was a lot of fun. And then one of our core four, Fonz DeFalco, came into the picture, and he helped us launch our Facebook page. And since then, we've expanded to over 300 followers in this past year. And now we have 6 members. We added Gabe, Paul, and Hank this past year, respectively, who host their own shows. Gabe hosted the North Pole. Paul is now hosting the 3&D. And Hank is going to be launching a baseball show in March. So, but taking a step back for a second, once that Facebook page was made about a year ago at this time, I started to think things through. And after Fonz left over the summer, he moved on, and which is when I started to want to add more shows and make an official brand extension, because there was nothing other than the review and preview show, if that makes sense. So we added Gabe's show, The North Pole. Then Hank and I did our own show, got him on board, a Giants-themed show. And then over the past 6 months, Gabe, Paul, and Hank, they all joined the team, as I said. And now we'll have our 5th show up and running as part of our brand extension. It's not just review and preview anymore. It's Review and Preview Sports, where we host all different shows on that brand, with our main show, of course, being Review and Preview. The same name, except without the sports at the end for that show. So, and we created a YouTube channel recently, a couple months ago. So, like I said, we're technically called Review and Preview Sports. Our main show, Review and Preview, airs Tuesday nights, 7 to 9 p.m. I never would have thought we'd be where we are now, thinking back at it, but I'm happy that we've made it this far. And over the past several months, we've had an insane amount of guests, high-profile guests, come on our show from all across the country. And we've gotten our name out there a little bit. We've gotten to work with several other different, sports networking brands, podcasting brands. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the year 2021 has in store for Review and Preview Sports. And I want to continue expanding and putting our content out there for our listeners to further engage them, because that's what it's all about. It's about our listeners, and I'm very thankful for them and the fans that we've been able to accumulate over the past 9.5 years, thinking back about it. So yeah, crazy. From one review and preview show, moving it from in-person to Facebook live stream, YouTube channel, the brand extension, making it Review and Preview Sports, adding all the shows. It's been a wild 3 years since I've taken over as host. And, I'm coming up on 5 years now as a member, longest tenured member. And I couldn't thank Johnny and Brian enough. Without them, none of us are here right now. So really want to appreciate that. And again, that's a little backlog on us. James and Kyle are going to say their pieces as well. We like to call ourselves the Root, because we're the original 3 since we launched on Facebook. So, that's why we're called that. But again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this, listen to us, and figure out more about who we are as Review and Preview Sports. Thank you all very much for watching.